Hey Texans, looks like the weather is going to be great this weekend. Your favorite lake has good crappie and bass fishing. The redfish are on the jetties and the red snapper season starts on June 1st. So gas up your boat, hook up your truck, and get your reports here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Good to see you all tuning into the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, with a ton of new reports from your favorite regional guides and captains sliding us into the month of June. Can you believe it's already June, Rick?
You know what else that means?
It's your birthday.
It's my birthday.
Yes, I
You know, in the Murphy house, Bree, we celebrate birthdays every day of the month.
I'm well
So
aware
come
of that.
Saturday,
It's birthday party time.
Yeah.
And we're going to party this weekend because, like you said, the weather's great for fishing. We're going to get out there. Snapper season's opening. We're excited.
yes, we are.
We are. We can't forget about our CCA Workbench guide over there, Dave Ferrell. Talk to us, Dave.
It's going to be a nice night. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool stuff, about some chatterbaits later. How to fish a chatterbait.
Oh, imagine that. A
Yeah.
chatty guy talking about
I can
chat a
chatterbaits.
little.
I'm going to say something to that effect. I like.
I steal your stuff.
You do
all
steal
the
my
time.
stuff. All right. The Fish Bites Upper Coast region, Captain Carl Weston, is the first to join us today and has some exciting news and updates for your inshore and offshore bite this weekend. So, Carl, tell us about it.
Hello, Rick and Bree.
How you doing, Carl?
We are great. We're excited about this weather finally. We've been had our head down into this wind for too long. But speaking of redfish, up in the Sabine complex, the water up there, guys, is still really fresh, and the whole lake is pretty much inundated with fresh water from the Neches and the Sabine rivers. But luckily, the info is slowing down a little bit finally. And although the lake itself is still pretty nasty, the lower end of the channel is improving. The Sabine Patch, which is a ship channel, is very deep and gets a ton of current going up and down. So when each low incoming tide, the water will get saltier, and the redfish show up along these rock piles and humps off the channel as well as the jetties. When fishing off these jetties, the best way to fish them is to fish parallel to the rocks with the crankbait or just vertical jig, your particular washout. And, the crankbaits we're using right now in a fire tiger or a chartreuse is a great color with this off-colored water. When you're vertical jigging, try and use about a 4-inch white bass, assassin shrimp, Texas rig, weedless, on a 6/0 hook with about a 1/2-ounce slip sinker. That should do the job. We got a picture here of Mr. Chris Nelson with a nice 28-inch redfish.
All right, what about the trout fishing, bub?
Well, we'll get back to whenever that wind will allow us to start drifting consistently. You know, the oyster reefs over in Galveston Bay are always a player. Normally, we're out there right now drifting, doing pretty well, but this weather has been holding us back a little bit. Seems like the wind's either blowing 30 out of the south or southeast, and that washing machine effect isn't good for our water clarity. But once this weather stabilizes, we'll be right back on track. Most all the reefs in East Bay are marked with a PVC pole signifying the oysterman's lease on each reef. So when you pull up there, use your sonar. You find these little humps and fingers off the reef, so it'll hold fish a little more concentrated. And the best tactic for getting bites is generally going to be a soft plastic. Favorite is a Mirror Lure Little John. And, the body creates sporadic action, which results in more reaction strikes. Very seldom do we throw anything heavier than, say, 1/8-ounce Bass Assassin jig head. These lighter jig heads allow for a slower suspension, and that is key to getting more bites. And we have a picture of Miss Samantha with a trout.
All right, looking good, dude. All right, let's go offshore. What do you got?
Well, like you said, Saturday is the opening day of red snapper season here in Texas for both federal and state waters. And if this weather holds out like they say it is, we should see some pretty big boxes of red snapper. Nobody's been fishing. These fish are hungry, so get out there and catch them up. Look on your chart for some offshore structure like rock piles, reefs, etc. There are numerous man-made reefs in our area too, and these snapper are generally stacked up on the bottom around these structures. We like to use a simple fish finder rig which is about 18 inches of 80-pound mono with an 8-ounce egg sinker and an 8-ounce circle hook. Squid, cigar minnows, most any cut bait you have, you'll get plenty of bites. We got a picture here of Mr. Mark with a nice deep water red snapper.
Boy, that is a nice one. All right, one more to go. Tell me about the ling.
Well, the ling out there are hungry, and when this water clears up, it's going to be on. Like we talked about for the past few weeks, fishing has been a little bit challenging with the amount of fresh water being dumped into the Gulf with these heavy rains. But there's tons of bait in the river and the beachfront. There are plenty of nice ling on the channel markers out on the rock piles and the offshore reefs. While you're snapper fishing this week, keep a drift line out with a whole cigar minnow on about an 8-ounce circle hook. A lot of times you can pull ling right off the bottom while you're snapper fishing, and you want to have a line ready for them. Put a 1/2-inch slip sinker in front of your bait to get it to sink slowly. A lot of times you'll pick up kingfish and dorado this way also.
Tell me
about
the photo, Bub.
We have a picture of a ling coming to the gas.
Oh, I'd say
It's a
he's coming to
beautiful
it. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the upper coast region. The Mirror Lure hot spots are inshore redfish on the Sabine jetties and the lower channel rock piles and humps, crankbaits and fire tiger and chartreuse with the off-colored water, or a 4-inch white bass assassin shrimp Texas rigged weedless on a 6.0 with a 1/2-ounce slip sinker. And then offshore red snappers on the offshore structure like rock piles and reefs on a simple fish finder rig with about 18 inches of 80-pound mono with an 8-ounce egg sinker and an 8.0 circle hook using cut squid, a cigar minnow, or almost any cut bait.
I think red snapper is going to be a hot topic today. What do you think?
I think so.
I think so too. All right, we're going to hang out with Matt Reed for a little bit in the Prosciutto Smokehouse Lower Fresh region, hopefully with some Prosciutto jerky to go along with that, and see what's happening on a few lakes: Travis, LBJ, Falcon, Decker, and Amistad. Let's go catching, Matt.
Let's go get after them. I tell you what, fishing's been really good lately. As we've heard, the wind has been brutal. But it's what we expect from time to time, so that's just what we have to deal with. Let's get this thing started out on Lake Travis. Fishing's been really good on Travis. This is a time of year where those fish start to school in the mornings in the marinas and stuff. That's one of the patterns there that happens nearly every year. Those marina complexes hold a ton of fish, and this time of year they start busting the surface. Get you a clear top water. Cadence is a huge key to catching those fish in that gin clear water. Yeah, speed a lot of times is necessary to get them to bite it, because that way they don't get too good a look at it. Act like you're trying to keep it away from them instead of trying to let them get it, because you can't keep it away from him if he wants it. Also, they're catching some bigger ones on top water walking baits, walking the dog type of retrieve over ledges in 10 to 15 foot of water that have trees on them. After the sun gets really high, you might want to change up to a small swim bait or a jig out in that 20 to 35 foot range to catch you some more fish, later on in the day. But that schooling action is the main player there right now. Moving on over to Lake Decker, also fishing really well. One of the triggers there that has caused fishing to improve is they've turned the power plant on. So they're running water, which not only makes the discharge area very good, but the whole lake, it just has more life to it when you got moving water. Early in the mornings, you can start with a tiny fluke or swim bait in the discharge, catch a bunch of fish there early that way, and then move on to the main lake points and reed lines, throwing your favorite soft plastics later in the day. Also, some fish up to 7 pounds been caught there lately. Lake LBJ outside of Austin is also fishing well right now. Throw a big soft plastic Cinco style bait in the cuts and coves around the docks, or you want to skip a jig or a fluke way back under those docks in the shaded area, and that's a great chance to catch you a great big fish. That's probably one of the best ways to catch a big one in the summertime there at LBJ. Moving on over to Lake Amistad in the Del Rio area, the water level is stabilized. They've quit releasing water, which is running through Falcon down to the irrigation. They've quit releasing water, and so that's making things get very constant. The grass is good out to 15 or 20 foot. You can actually catch fish right now there from the bank out to that 20-foot range. It's not hard to get a bite. It's just hard to catch a big one. If you want to target those shallow fish early with top waters, get you a bunch that way, and then tie on a weedless swim bait on a weedless hook or a lipless crankbait to continue catching those shallow fish. If you get ready to try to chase a bigger one, pick you up a 10-inch worm on a Texas rig and get out on that outside edge of the hydrilla in that 15 to 20-foot range. Drag that big worm around for the remainder of the day, and that's a great way to catch you the one you're looking for. Maybe not as many, but you can catch you a big old fish. Moving down to my part of the world at Falcon Lake, the bass have been biting pretty fair. The wind has just been brutal, hindering what you can do. My ability to move around and fish a whole lot of my structure is hindered immensely. But the crankbaits on the rock piles have been very successful. There's also a deep bite on the points and humps with a Carolina rig soft plastics or a big stand-up head with a big worm on it. Got a picture of a big old fish that customer Ricky Frederick caught down here at Falcon the other day. Always love to catch some of those big ones. That'll lead you to some smiles.
Yeah, it does. All right, tell me a little bit about the striper fishing.
Lake Travis. The stripers on Lake Travis are out in that 40-foot range. Get out there with your electronics idle around till you find the shad. They'll be related to them. You want to throw a swim bait on a 3/4 or 1 ounce head. Let it sink down to about 25 foot and reel it slow, steady through them, and that will trigger that bite with that slow, steady retrieve. Got a picture of Brian Cotter there with a big old striper he caught over there. Just want to say thanks to Brian because he helps me with reports from that whole Austin area at Texas Hogs Guide Service.
All right, well, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Matt. Great report this week from the Lower Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots, and Matt says that Lake Travis bass are schooling around the marinas. Pick up a clear topwater bait and have some fun targeting the frenzy and surface action. And if that activity slows down, you might want to target deep breaks with submerged trees for continued topwater bites. We're talking about topwater fishing all day long.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love the topwater bite. It's so addicting. It really is.
You know what, Brie? The other thing that's addicting is Prosec's.
It is so addicting.
Their smoked meats as well as their jerky. And guys, as we have every week, you go to Prosec Smokehouse or Prosecs.com. Make sure you type in the promo code TIFR to get your special discounts, the Rick Murphy price.
Exactly.
On all your sausage and all your meat.
And you can get addicted too. All right, let's start to our Middle Fresh region. It's creeping up on us. But first, we're checking out what kind of creeping Dave's doing at the CCA workbench for rigs and techniques. Dave, what you
Creeping. I'm already old. I don't need to be calling me creepy.
I didn't call you creepy.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about these chatterbaits when we get back.
Chatterbaits.
Chatter.
We're creeping with the chatterbaits. I didn't call him creepy.
Creeper.
Yeah, it's all right. You call him what you want.
I'm a creeper.
We'll be back. You were kind of...
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Garmin. Join the club. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
If you're not a member of Coastal Conservation Association, you need to be. CCA fights on a national and state level for our fishing rights so that our children and grandchildren will have fish to catch today and in the future. CCA, through their habitat programs, create oyster and artificial reefs, as well as many other habitat programs. CCA also each year releases millions of trout, redfish, and flounder, so join myself, Brie, and Dave and become a member of CCA now. So we're here at the CCA workbench, and there's a lot of chatter going on here in the studio. We got chatterbaits that we're going to be talking about, Dave.
Yep, yes, we are. Well, you know, these are, we call them chatterbaits. It's kind of like the Band-Aid or the Kleenex, you know. Chatterbait is a brand made by Z-Man, and now everybody calls a vibrating jig a chatterbait. And it's just, it's evolved to that way. I think these first came out in the mid-2000s, and they were pretty popular back then. They hit off pretty good, but then they kind of backed off a little bit for some reason, and I don't know why, because they still never stopped catching fish, and now they're making another comeback. I've never been one of those guys who likes to throw a worm. It's too slow for me, so that's why this is a great bait for me, because not only, you know, it's very versatile, you know, it works all the year long, and it works in all the depths. And what's really good about it is you can vary the depth for how deep or slow action you want it to go with the weight and or the retrieve. You know, if you want to use a real heavy one in the pre-spawn time when the fish are deeper and really hungry, you can slow your retrieve down and start using a heavier, you know, maybe a half ounce or even up to an ounce if you're in really deep water. You can even actually yo-yo these baits. But the most common way to fish them is to, you know, tie to the front up there on that blade and start the retrieve, and as soon as you feel it start to vibrate, and you will, because it makes a lot of noise, these things. As soon as you start to feel it vibrate, that's where you want to stay. A lot of guys will fish them that way. That level, as soon as it starts to vibrate, then you just keep that same retrieve, and a lot of times you'll want that, you know, to be right over the top of the grass or right over a ledge. They work in clear water, dirty water. They make so much noise with that blade that the fish can find them in just about any kind of water. And when you're in dark water, you might want to, you know, choose to use a lighter color or even a dark color. It doesn't really matter that much.
Now let me ask you for clarification. When you say lighter or darker, we have the ability to change this plastic. We can put a worm on here.
Correct.
We can put a skunk ape on here.
Yep,
we can put a logger toad.
Yep, and there's really no wrong trailer. You know, you hear some guys say, I like this, I like that. But I tell you what, if you read 10 guys, every one of them will say the different thing. Well, I like to match them up. You know, I like to have a different trailer on mine versus the skirt. So, you know, I don't think there's any wrong way to put a trailer on there. You can have just a short stub trailer. You can put a paddle tail on it. You can actually thread a piece of a plastic worm on there and just have the little grub hanging out. They will all work in certain situations because, you know, these things are a lot like a spinner bait, you know, except that they can move a little slower and you don't have to really, they can go through a lot more brush and bounce off any kind of structure. You can rip them through the lily pads. They're really good. You know, when I'm fishing them, I always use braid because I'm trying to fish them really close to a lot of structure. And if you're using a really good braided line, you can rip them through the grass, and the braid actually will cut through the grass a lot better. They're pretty weedless as it is, especially when you put a trailer on them. It helps them become even more weedless. But even just by themselves, which I use them a lot by myself, especially in a color like this green, because it matches all the forage that is in my lakes. So if you're matching the forage with the color, that's the best way to go about it. I mean, a lot of guys will stick with white or chartreuse, but you really shouldn't, because these things also mimic a crawdad. You know, you can get them in crawdad colors and use them in reds or yellows even. But in the summertime, when the bluegills and stuff start to bed, this thing really shines if you can get these things around the bluegills, or if the bass are on the spawn and there's a bunch of bluegills in the lake. There's nothing a bass hates worse than a bluegill hanging around his bed. And if you drag one of these through any place where the bass are spawning, you'll get a good hit. And the really good thing about it is you can, with those trailers, if you're just chasing big fish, you can put a bigger trailer on there and try to get those great big ones, or you can cut that trailer down a little bit and make it a little smaller to get more fish to eat.
What's the difference between this and you hear some of the fellas talk about a shaky head?
Well, it has a blade. Most shaky heads are just a detached jig head that has a detachment from the hook that the head shakes on the hook set.
Oh,
Instead
of
the blade shaking, the whole head of the lure shakes.
I got it.
Right?
I got it. All right. I'm well aware now.
Okay.
Hey, Brie, I'm well aware that you got a new position.
Yeah!
I do. I'm going to take you for a ride. I'm a big orange instructor. Let's go. All right, summertime seems to be upon us in the Star-Trod Middle Fresh region, and Matt Loescher is here to give the ins, outs, ups, downs, and anything else you'll need for the bite this weekend. Go for it, Matt.
All right, Brie. Well, I'm going to start off this week talking about my favorite green fish, those largemouth that I like to chase around. Here at Toledo Bend, they're really starting to fall into a summertime type of pattern. There's a pretty good shallow water, top water bite in the morning, and then kind of following up with that is an offshore bite that lasts throughout the day. So in the morning, you'll want to start with a frog in a bluegill color pattern because those brim are up there spawning and the bass are eating them. You want to be around the shallow vegetation, about 1 to 5 foot deep. And then once the sun gets up and those bites kind of slow down for you, move out offshore and throw a deep diving crankbait in about 10 to 20 foot. Look for a lot of activity on your sonar to find where to fish because, you're going to want to be around those bait fish balls and look for some fish underneath them, and then just drag those deep diving crankbaits right through the bottom of those bait fish schools and concentrate on those areas where you're seeing the most activity. If you're not seeing much activity on your sonar, then just keep riding around and looking because they're really ganged up right now. It shouldn't take you very long to find some. With all the current running through the lake right now, the fish are they're really stacked up in these little sweet spots on these humps and ridges. So it's an all or nothing type of bite right now. So if you're not getting bites, just keep moving until you see that activity, and you should be able to catch them pretty quick. And then over at Sam Rayburn, pretty much the same pattern is going on. The number of bites is real high offshore in about 15 to 25 foot of water. Look for the bigger fish in the morning, but don't be surprised if you hook a big one while weeding through a lot of smaller fish offshore as well. And then up at Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service has been catching some good bass on top water in the morning as well. But later in the day, he's doing it a little different. He's switching over to a Texas rig creature bait, like a Bass Assassin skunk bait type of deal. And he's fishing brush or docks with brush on them near the deeper water. So typical summertime kind of deal, shallow water close to deep water. And he says that square bill crankbaits and bladed baits will also bring in some fish around those docks. So just kind of experiment with different patterns around those docks. And then the white and the yellow bass bite is still really good on Toledo Bend. We got a lot of current still going through the lake with all the rain we've had. So those fish are still hanging out there in about 10 to 20 foot of water around humps and on these long flat points. So use your sonar to find that activity and use a silver jigging spoon. Just jig it right off the bottom or tight line a live minnow about a foot or so off the bottom to catch those. Now, early in the morning and later in the evening, those fish will rise closer to the surface. So during those times, you may catch them in the same depth and same areas, but by working that spoon or that minnow a little higher in the water column. So just be aware of that because they kind of move through the depths throughout the day. These fish are really great table fare, and they're plentiful. So if you're looking for a fish fry, then these are the ones you'll want to go after. They're also a really great fish to bring the family out to catch because they're extremely aggressive and hard fighting. It's a lot of fun for the whole family. And I've got a photo here for you of the Dorman family. We fished recently. I got a couple of ladies there with a table full of them that we caught. I think we managed to catch all those in just a matter of about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's a lot of fun to get out there and catch them. It's fast and furious.
Yeah, it looks fast and furious, man. I got to get some of that, Brie.
Fast and Furious?
Some of that bite. Golly. All right, tell me about the crappie fishing, Pop.
All right, so the crappie have been a little slow. You can still catch quite a few, though, around docks and bridge pilings, especially at night on Toledo Bend. So look for the docks and the bridges that have lights on, and pitch a panfish assassin, throw tiny shad around those lights. Most of you know for the chartreuse tail has been the best color. Rig it on a little light 16th ounce to 32nd ounce jig head. Live minnow is always a great choice too, but the jig's just a lot more fun. So get out there and check that out. And then lastly, the catfish have been riding really well also, but they're close to the bank. They're not out there deep where they normally are. They're in about 5 to 10 foot of water, and normally I use the rib cages from the crappie fillets as bait, but if you don't have any of those, then you can catch them on stick and livers or shad or something like that. They use just about any kind of cut bait you want to throw at them.
All right, man. Good report from the StarTron Middle Fresh region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Matt says that this weekend you should go largemouth bass fishing or biting topwater baits in the shallows in the morning and crankbaits throughout the day. White and yellow bass at Toledo Bend are biting spoons in 10 to 20 feet of water, and the crappie are biting at night on jigs, and catfish are biting at 5 to 10 feet of water on cut bait. Man, he's got it going on.
He does have it going on, fast and furious.
Yes.
Bite. I was talking about the bite too, Rick.
Yeah.
Okay, get on the same page. All right, we have a CCA shout out. The CCA Aransas Bay chapter held the 20th anniversary Babes on the Bay tournament on May 17th and 18th in Fulton, Texas. Approximately 1,460 women participated, making up 419 teams in guided, non-guided, and fly fishing divisions. With participants from all over the country, the CCA Babes on the Bay tournament might be the largest women's only fishing tournament around. So if you are interested in putting together your own ladies team and fishing in the tournament next year, contact the CCA office at 1-800-626-4222.
How crazy is that?
So
1,460 women all fishing?
Approximately.
Approximately.
Yes, of course.
Good for you girls. I'm very proud of that. That's awesome.
Girl power right there.
That's
All right,
it.
the Texas Insider Fishing Report is nowhere near its limit, so just hang tight while we rig up for the lower and middle coast regions next. And remember to catch up with us and everything fishing in Texas. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Proshek Smokehouse, a link above.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's Power Pole Tip of the Week, we're going to discuss catching bait with the help of my power poles. I have a couple different styles of bait catching, and both of them my power poles assist me. First, on the grass flats in the bay, I'll use my power poles to stop the boat and keep it from pivoting. Then I'll begin to chum in front of my boat to bring the pilchards to the bow along with some pinfish. I'll throw my cast net a few times, bag my pilchards, put them in my live well, and go run my charter. My second method is what we call rodeo style, and we'll ride up and down the beach on the trolling motor looking for the pilchards, running down the beach, and I'm talking in 1 foot, 2 foot of water right along the beach. Once I've seen them, I'll throw the cast net on them. Using my foot switch, I'll lower the power pole, stopping the boat, bag the pilchards, put them in the live well. And that's today's power pole tip of the week.
Good job, Paige. Rodeo style.
Exactly. The cool
before.
part is we're teaching you guys all the different ways that we use the power poles. And
Yeah,
that's a great
exactly.
example.
Everyone's got their own way of doing it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. All right, inshore is looking pretty good, and offshore maybe some potential this weekend for some good fishing in the Garmin Lower Coast region. So let's hear from Captain Chad Kinney on what bite we should be on the hunt for.
I tell you what, it's been extremely windy and the water's high, but the best thing is still great catches in the bay and stuff like that. But the best thing is the forecast for the weekend is looking great. I've got offshore all through the weekend. Buddies of mine are calling. It's the first break we've had, so we're going to be going out there deep and looking for stuff. So I get to report on that next week. But heading into the inshore here, even with these nasty conditions we've had, I talked to Doug Stanford out of the Corpus Christi, Port Aransas area. He's with Pirates of the Bay Charters there. Said trout fishing has been really good around Trailer Island. He's been fishing in about 2 to 6 foot of water, fishing live croaker. Free line's working best. He's also attaching a chatter weight with about 18 to 24 inches. Leader line there, 30-pound fluorocarbon with like a 5/0 tail hook is working good. When you get these windy conditions, bait's kind of probably the best way to go because you get your clarities can go way down, especially with the higher water kind of stretches out the fish everywhere. For the bigger trout, he's been throwing up near the mangroves for the bigger fish there, working out really well. Estes Bay has also been producing really good there. He said with live shrimp and a popping cork. Live shrimp popping cork, another thing with that, like I said, water clarity is going to be bad, so you start popping that cork really hard, it gives it a fish an attraction to get you there so they can find that bait easier. And if you're using the soft plastics there, try some chicken on the chain, saltwater assassin. That's always a go-to. Everybody has one in the box there, or should have one. And then throw along the drop-offs, 8-ounce jig head and stuff like that, and work that over. But we got a picture of one of Doug's clients here with a monster trout there.
Whoa.
Wow.
That is a monster, dude.
Insane.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got for us? Go ahead.
So redfish, spoke to him also. He said around Estes Bay, also live shrimp, popping cork, working the best there in that muddy water. Also at Lighthouse Lakes, he said there's been some redfish using a croaker and also try some cut pin perch and some shad also on the bottom. They're working really good. If I'm doing that, I'd use like a Carolina rig, 3/4 ounce egg weight, put your barrel swivel, and then put your 30-pound shock leader on there with a 5/0 tail hook and throw it on the bottom also. If you're going to free line the stuff on the bait guys on the bottom, I got a good tip here that'll help you out if you haven't done it. If you're using a spinning rod, it's good to open up your bail and have your finger on the line. As soon as you feel a bite, let it go. Any resistance, a lot of these fish will start dropping it or you'll miss the bait. If you're throwing a bait caster, click the button down, have it lightly on a thumb, so when you get that bite, let them run 10, 15 feet, and then when you feel the line still moving, go ahead and give them one good hook set, and you'll have a lot better results when you go that way. And so we got another good picture back there hiding around with this wind back there back in the flats, so the good redfish, solid redfish there.
That is a good one. All right, why don't you tell me a little bit about some black drum I see here?
Yeah, there's also in Estes Bay, there's been all sorts of, different varieties of everything. So black drum, trout, redfish, and even some sharks and stuff like that, but there's plenty of different action. If you're going to be fishing for the black drum, the best thing to do on that is some live shrimp or frozen shrimp. You can try popping cork and anything else like that, cut bait on the bottom, but my experience is just get a fresh shrimp, pop its head off of there, peel the shell off, stuff like that, and pin it on like an 1/8 ounce jig head or a smaller hook with a Carolina rig, throw it on the bottom and go ahead and wait for them to take in. You'll have good success for that, stuff like that. That works best. Also, the redfish have been over there in Estes Bay also. He said go ahead and try some shad, pinfish, croaker, mullet, anything you got cut like that fresh, throw it on the bottom. You'll run into that stuff. And then, speaking about running into different species, I got a picture here of a bonnethead shark that one of his young clients had caught and released.
What a
Looking
smile.
good, man. All right, one more species to go. What do you got, bub?
Yeah, I tell you, moving over to the offshore, like I said, it's been really, really rough, so we haven't been able to get out there this weekend. We will, so I'll have some great stuff next week. But just remember, June 1st opens federal waters in Texas here, so 2 per person, 16-inch minimum. Look for some deeper structure out there, suspended fish. The best way to find this stuff, and I've got 2 boats on order, and I'm putting Garmin on both of them, so get your Garmin unit, your GPS, your plotter, and the best thing you can do is it gets you in position perfectly, but put your track on there, and then you can drift fish through there. They'll tell you how many feet away you're from your structure, and it'll give you an idea where the suspended fish are at. once you find those fish, what I do is make a drift through there, keep on fishing, use some jig, vertical jig it, and start popping them. When you start getting away from the fish, sometimes they'll follow you a long way, sometimes they won't, but once they stop following you, go back to your track, start it all over again. It's a lot better than anchoring. You don't hurt the bottom, don't do anything, and it's hard to beat when you get a Garmin doing that. And then if you're also doing that stuff, there's been some good shark action along the beach fronts and around the wrecks. When you're going to head up this weekend around the snapper fish, I guarantee there's some stuff there. Try some heavier cable rigs, etc., or even some heavier mono. One tip on this for shark fishing, guys, if you're targeting a bigger shark, just a quick rule of thumb, if you're going out and look for a 7-footer or something like that, get at least a foot or two of leader line longer than what you want to do. The only reason for that is when he starts tail kicking and beating on you, he's going to beat on that leader line. He's not going to beat on your main line and pop you. So that's the tip right there to do that one. And I got a picture of a release of a shark we got right there, and that was caught while we were snapper fishing with a short leader, and we got lucky on him.
All right, Bud, good report this week. Thanks for all the pictures. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Garmin Lower Coast region. He says inshore, around Corpus Christi area, trout has been good near Trailer Island. And for redfish, try Estes Bay and Lighthouse Lakes. And then offshore, the conditions have been rough offshore, but the weekend is looking better. Remember that the federal snapper season opens on Saturday, June 1st.
All right, let's head a little north to the Middle Coast region, where Bink Grimes is going to tell us how to play the hand we're dealt for the weekend's report. So, Bink, I know you're always ready for us. Let's hear it.
I'm ready, and I tell you, I'm so ready for a little calming winds. It's blown 30 knots or better, a few more miles per hour, and we'll be naming some of these disturbances out in the Gulf. But we're still catching fish. That's the cool part of it. The tides have been high, and it's given us a chance to hide in the marshes and be protected back there. And I tell you, the fishing's been good despite all the gales. In West Matagorda Bay, been catching limits of trout while wading with live bait. Sand and grass humps are holding lots of minnows and shrimp, and they're coming on those flats with the incoming tide. We've been drifting down there as well, and we're catching them anywhere from 4 to 9 foot of water. And it's been a blessing to have it because, there's not a whole lot of places in Texas you can catch limits of trout when the wind's blowing 25 knots, but we've been doing it regularly this week. In Rockport, Rhett Price said the fishing is good on artificials along the shoreline. Slow sinking plugs like the Corkies and the Saltines been good on the grassline. Trout action's been even faster with croakers on windward shorelines in about 2 to 4 foot of water. Then in Port O'Connor, the topwater bite's been good early over sand and grass. Lynn Smith has been working those back lakes. They're holding good numbers of trout on soft plastics and scented baits under corks. Then the south shoreline there around the jetty has been good around sand and grass around the Cedars area and those flats just adjacent to the jetty. Sea drift, they've worked the reefs in San Antonio Bay with live shrimp and croakers. They're working a mixture of mud and shell and grass, and that's been the go-to spot with all the wind. Then East Bay, lots of big trout in East Bay still caught and released in the dirty water. The wind's been a factor. We haven't been able to get in there as much as we want to, but this weekend it's calling for seas seas less than 2 feet, and that's going to be 5 to 10 knots of wind in our bays. And we are really, really looking forward to it to find some streaky water and get back on those bigger trout. Then in Bastrop and Chocolate Bay, Freeport and Surfside, good trout on live shrimp over the reefs, and the rocks in the harbor have been holding trout. The photo there is a nice fish caught by Captain Ken Marshall. He released in East Bay. Just a tribute to a lot of conservation in East Bay. We'll go to redfish. Tides, they're holding about 1 to 2 foot of normal. They were 3 foot normal, 3 foot above normal last week, but they've come down a little bit more. Redfish have been on the menu for a lot of captains trying to hide from the wind. Guide Brett Sweeney said the back lakes off the ICW are holding good numbers on mullet. He's working points of shell on the south shoreline for reds on live shrimp as well. Then in Port O, wading those back lakes with gold spoons and small topwaters have been good. Then those that don't want to get out of the boat, they're drifting with live shrimp. All the back lake game, it's driven by water levels. When the water levels are high, those reds push up in there. It's been good on the incoming tide in the morning, And then on the outgoing later, at the mouth of those lakes, near Palacios, redfish will come on windy days on those wind-blown shorelines. While wading, those guys that are fishing with croakers and wading with croakers for trout, they're also catching reds. Some of the guys say that the best spot to catch them is in that stirred-up water. When it's too clear, it's tough to catch those reds out there. So look for a little off-color water. Then in Rockport, those redfish are scattered with the trout. People are anchoring along the edges of the flat, and they're catching reds on cut shad, and then they're cutting up skipjacks as well. Estes flats have been good. Strong incoming tide on the east flats and Port Aransas while drifting with gold spoons. The photo there, high tides will push those big reds to the back lakes of West Matagorda Bay, Crab Lake, Oyster Lake, all that stuff around Coon Island has been good. We'll go offshore. We're happy Red Snapper is going to open June 1st, and it looks like, we're going to be blessed with some calm seas, maybe 2 to 3 footers, so we can get out there and get after them. Lots of fish have been showing up in the 20-pound class in state waters. The season's going to run 97 days this year for recreational anglers, so that'll be a great thing. Kingfish are just about everywhere. The jetty out to 200 foot of water holding kings on ribbon hills and while trolling divers. Every platform is loaded with kings. Cobia continue to press around the rig and other shady structure, and it's just we're happy. It's been tough. It's been tough to get out there, but look like we're going to have a lot of relief this weekend.
All right, thanks so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Texas hotspots. He says the trout are good while drifting the sand and grass in the back lakes of Port O'Connor. The reefs in Bastoff Bay are holding trout on live shrimp, and then redfish are good along the wind-blown shorelines in West Matagorda Bay, throwing those gold spoons.
All right, it's summertime, but if y'all are ready for a fall adventure, come to fabulous Cabo San Lucas, Mexico to finish in the 21st annual Los Cabos Billfish Tournament, October 13th through the 17th. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico hosts some of the most prestigious and richest tournaments in the world, and the Los Cabos Billfish kicks off the tournament season with a $750,000 purse up for grabs. Anglers and crews get to fish in a spectacular setting where the harsh desert meets the marlin-rich waters of the Pacific Ocean and the Sea of Cortez. This 3-day tourney awards a wide variety of prizes and many ways to win, including tuna, dolphin, and wahoo categories. So you don't have to be a master bill fisherman to take home a bit of cash. You still have plenty of time to sign up and to secure your spot, and a good boat from the affordable Los Cabos fleet if you want to fish in one of the most incredible fishing destinations on Earth and have a chance to win some money in the process. Visit www.loscabostournaments.com and reserve your spot today. Wow, that looks like a fun time. I want to go. I want to go. I haven't. No.
Oh, it is fun.
We're going to go. Let's sign up. All right, the upper fresh region's next, so make sure you stay hooked. But first, let's see what Dave is keeping us hooked with at the CCA workbench for new products. Dave.
Some cool coasters that'd be great for that Cabo tournament.
Yes,
take these out there and fish in the Los Cabos Billfish Tournament.
Oh, you look totally Cabos. We'll be back.
Looks like the Sandman.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yeti, built for the wild. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miralure. Building Conservation Trust. CCA's National Habitat Program. And StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
At the pinnacle of super high output, 4-stroke outboard performance, you'll find Yamaha VMAX SHO. Yamaha's game-changing SHO technology. From exhilarating V6 models to the sleek inline 4s, there's a VMAX SHO for everything from bass to bonefish. It's an extended family of 4-strokes engineered for lightweight, inspiring performance, and rock-solid reliability. Discover VMAX SHO and elevate your expectations.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Over 40 years ago, Mr. Proshek began smoking meat in a little Texas town called Hilgi, combining fresh, grade A ingredients to create a variety of legendary smoked meats. Today, Proshek's Smokehouse is a Texas tradition, and now Proshek's not only satisfies hunger in Texas, but across the country. Visit Prosheks.com and order everything from fresh meats to your choice of jerky. Proshek's meats are made by Prosheks, sold by Prosheks, and can be delivered in as little as a day. Proshek Smokehouse, a link above.
So we're here at the CCA workbench, Dave, and you know Father's Day is just around the corner, so maybe we should talk about some potential gifts for Daddy.
Who wouldn't like a pair of Costa sunglasses? You know, I've probably done 400 episodes or more with these on my thing. I love them. So you know these you can't beat. These are the new ones called the Spiros, and they're named for the spear fishermen. That's what they call spear fishermen actually in Australia. I guess they're everywhere now. But anyway, those are really lightweight and sturdy frames. They're made out of a bio-resin. Then they have really nice vented nose pads to keep the airflow going through there and keep it from fogging up real good. Those are the 580Gs with the glass lenses, but they also come in 580Ps as well. Several different colors. That's the matte blackout. I like the blackout, but they also have the
Gray
tortoise
lenses for offshore.
Correct, and they also have a tortoise shell.
The copper lenses.
Yeah, the matte tortoise there. And you know they also have the integral hinge and the cam system.
Skin. It's good for my skin tone.
You're an autumn. If so, yes, you are. But run right out and get you a pair of nice Spiros at Costa. They're really good sunglasses, obviously.
All right.
Great for guys who like to go fishing. Next, we got some fish bites. These are the bag of worms, the longer-lasting bud worms. They got some. They've added some more scent to them now. You know, if you notice when you go in there, the blue package are the longer-lasting ones, and the red packages are the fast-acting. And these are the longer-lasting now. They've got even more scent than they used to have. The long-lasting ones like these, you can cut them to however size you want. They're really hard to get off the hook. And you know the extra durability with the long-lasting for extended periods of time, and it makes a good choice for if you want to go bottom fishing or wind that thing on up on a hook and you can catch brim with it. Probably, I know I catch everything on that stuff, from flounders to trout on jig and everything. I mean, a lot of things eat it. It's amazing.
Pompanos, black drums,
Correct.
tipping it. I caught lots of different variety of snappers with this just by taking this and putting it on a bucktail.
Right. It melts into the water and really makes them hang on. And because it's food for them, so they'll eat it. All right, next.
What it tastes like, Dave, just so you know.
I don't want to know.
But no, seriously, it tastes like and smells like mashed potatoes.
Oh, okay.
And who doesn't like mashed potatoes? I do.
Right. I don't know, man. Next, we got a Whopper. I love mashed potatoes. Whopper Popper 75. It's a Larry Dahlberg signature series. You know, the other Whopper Popper, the original ones, it was a lot longer one. It was more of a torpedo shaped, and this is kind of a fat perch kind of shape. These 3/5 ounce, and they also are 3 inches long. That thing will roll, buzz, twitch. You can burn it. Nothing makes more noise than a Whopper Plopper, and that's a cool little prop that Larry Dahlberg invented there. Is a really cool thing.
And Larry's a very accomplished angler.
Yep.
Fished all over the world.
River to Sea hooks on there, and you go to rivertoseausa.com. It's got tungsten weights inside that rattle, and you know they're just, if you want to make noise and get the attention of fish, that's the thing to use, the Whopper Plopper 75.
Pretty work.
All right, next we got the KVD Strike King. This is called a popping perch. Any time I can find out a way to use more topwater stuff, I'm going to use it. And this is a really cool little thing. It mimics a wounded perch. It's got nice double hooks in it. It's a collapsible topwater bait, so when they eat that thing, it will fold down really nice and offer a good solid hook set. It's got a nice skirt on the back to even add some more flash to it.
You think this guy knows anything about fishing?
Kevin Van Dam? I think he probably knows a lot more than I do. He's got his name on everything. When you start seeing Dave Ferrell lures, when I start putting those up here, we'll be in big time then.
You know, Dave, I think you should try this on our peacocks in
I am going
Florida
to. That was actually a reason why I actually bought that thing. I like that color, and I think the peacock bass will eat it.
All right. Well, speaking of color, we need one more region to go, and our color coordinator is Brie. So, Brie, where are we going?
Absolutely. That's the second time you put fish bites in your mouth. I'm starting to wonder about
mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. Sorry. Lake Fork is where you want to be this weekend if fishing is in your weekend sights. And Johnny, guys, has all of the info from the Yeti Upper Fresh region. So, Johnny, take us away.
Hey, Rick and Bree. Well, I'll tell you what, the big old white bass are showing up here. And where are they and what are they biting on? The big white bass are ganged up now off a couple of great creeks, Dale Creek and Ray Branch area. Old Bell Hump and Big Caney Point's good also. Sometimes you'll find them breaking the surface in a feeding frenzy, usually in the afternoon. If you don't have the good electronics, though, the best bait to locate the biting fish is a deep diving crankbait. Large schools of white bass are showing up on the points, road beds, in about 20, 25 foot of water. The faster way to locate these big schools is slowly idle over that point and use your electronics to find the big sand bass grouped up. A good side imaging unit can quickly identify the grouped up fish from 100 to 150 feet on either side of the boat. Put a waypoint on that school, then approach its spot from downwind. Use a slab or a large flutter spoon to get down quickly into the action. Bites on. Bites usually on the fall and very quick, so be ready. Be careful when you're holding the fish when you get them in, though, because they got some sharp gill plates. Cut your finger if you're not careful. Treble hook can slow up the action, so be careful in dislodging the hooks also. I like to use a heavy jig head, about a 3/4 ounce jig head with a 4-inch Bass Assassin sea shad. Works great. Soft plastic swim bait in the shad color is excellent for catching the big whites. Make a long cast with a sea shad, slowly reel it in. Be alert for that quick bite. Sometimes you'll feel numerous ticks as they start to chase the lure and bite at it. Single hook's much easier, safer way to unhook, and you can quickly get back into action. Limits of 25 per angler are easy on fork at this time, so another benefit that I found lately is what I want to talk about tonight is locating, once you use a big white bass that finished up and moved on, the big largemouth move in. Here's a couple of pictures, though, just to show the quality and what these things are looking like on Lake Fork. They're fat and sassy. They're great table fare also, so come on over and get you some of these.
Tell me about those big largemouth, Johnny.
Hey, largemouth, wow. Lake Fork, again, is living up to its reputation, being the best big bass in the nation. My guide trips this week's been producing 20 to 30 bass a day with an average size, believe it or not, around 6 pounds. The big schools of big bass are grouped up on points and road beds. They're feeding on shad and brim. I'm finding the bass are mixed in with those schooling sand bass are very close by. Old shad spawn's winding down now, but the bluegills are now bedding and still have a good shallow bite going on with topwaters and hollow-belly frogs. This bite's best early in the morning, late afternoons. I'm finding a great deep water bite in the mornings and midday, and the size and quantity of the bass are impressive to say the least. Best spots seem to be around the mussel shell beds, down about 10 or 15 foot of water. A 1-ounce Carolina rig's the best way to fish these areas, and you'll feel the rough shell bottoms when you drag the sea rig along the bottom. Several different baits are working good. Heavy football jigs, shaky heads, rig with straight-tail worms will produce once you find those big schools. A deep diving crankbait or large flutter spoon works good to find those bass also. I discovered that the big bass, boy, they're going crazy over live bluegills right now, and sometimes even cut bait. When the bass move in after the white bass feed on the shad, they scrounge around and clean up the bottom. So yesterday, we caught the same big bass 3 times in one day, had distinctive markings on her back and fins. We caught this bass on 2 previous trips this week, and her named her Blackie. So obviously catch and release works, and Blackie's still swimming in Lake Fork. So now's a great time to come to Lake Fork, try to catch old Blackie and get in the best big bass fishing of the year. This bite should last through the midsummer, but June is your best, so plan your trip now. Here's a couple of pictures from trips this week, as you can see the quality, and when you can catch 20 of those a day, it's awesome, man. Summertime in Texas is here. Be sure to drink plenty of water. Use that sunscreen. Get out on that water. Let's catch some big ones this weekend.
All right, good luck, Johnny. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hot spots. Johnny says that Lake Fork, the white bass are biting good on slabs and swim baits. Crappie is best on jigs and minnows. And then Lake Fork, black bass are excellent in shallow and deep, and mini bass are being caught. Sounds like big numbers. It's all coming together, Bree.
Exactly. I was
Exactly.
going to talk
Exactly.
about Blackie,
Exactly.
but exactly, Blackie should be Lake Fork's mascot.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
You know, it sounds like, though, with the weather getting better, the temperatures getting right, all that rain, I'm really excited for their weekend.
Me
You know,
too.
they're going to have
Should be good.
Well, you know,
Especially for the guys going offshore.
Open season for red snapper. So Rick, we know you're kind of the snapper like king. Are there any tips you can give for any
Guys,
anglers
I'm
brave
just
in the
gonna
water?
tell you pull up on a place that hadn't been fished in a while. All you got to do is drop over a vertical jig. Remember, catch stuff on artificial first. Drop your bucktail down there. Drop your vertical jig down there. Don't jig it like you're tuna fishing. Just kind of bump it. Just leave it a little bump.
Yeah.
Little bump.
Little bump. Little
Big
bump,
one will come in and
Little
get it.
bump.
That's it, right, Dave? That little
Is that your
bump.
secret?
Make it
Just
happen.
a little bump.
That's it. Just a little bump.
That's it. That's all you got to do, huh?
That's it.
All right. Well, if those anglers want to brave it out in the waters this weekend, hopefully it's nice and calm. The wind's a little less, right?
It's gonna be nice.
Exactly. It's going to be nice. Well, guys, we had a great show tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. We are so excited for you to get out on the water. Make sure to tune in next week. We're going to have all new reports from all of our favorite guides, and we hope you guys send us your photos of all your big catches.
And don't forget, watch Sportsman's Adventures Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Tune in to all of our shows, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.